How do you prevent fatigue with walking? So this is a pretty common problem. I will kind of term this like gait endurance, or how do you maintain your gait quality without fatiguing? And I would say it's multifactorial. So one is just looking at your overall day, and this is going to vary depending on whether or not you're someone that has MS or you're someone that has had a stroke. Definitely if you're someone that has MS and you're noticing that you're fatiguing, it's really important to look at things like, are you overheating? Are you not drinking enough water? Do you just need to rearrange your schedule a little bit to give yourself opportunities to rest during the day? The heat is the big one that could potentially affect your walking and also make you feel more fatigued. But the other thing to look at is, before we get into actually building your walking endurance, is your gait deviations, your walking deviations. Are you circumducting? Do you have a very stiff leg? Are you pointing when you're walking and your knees going into hyperextension? Well, then you got to lift your leg and kind of swing it around the side. That wastes a ton of energy. Those are things that I would think about. The other thing that I would think about is, what device are you using? If you're starting to fatigue more, and did you recently change devices? So did you go from a walker to a cane and now you're starting to fatigue faster? Definitely something to keep in mind. Definitely when you downgrade or go to a lesser assistive device that is less supportive, there's the potential of having more gait deviations, either because of fear or just because you don't have enough support. So it's important to know, to look at the trade-offs and see if it's worth it. If you go down to a cane, but you can't walk as far, is it really moving the goalpost or getting you closer to your goals? That's just something that you're going to have to assess on your own. The other thing that I think is important to know is just the nuance of it. So it's not so black and white. So if it is because you changed devices, you might not need to go back to the walker if you're fatiguing, but maybe it means that you kind of do a transition period where you use the cane when you're walking shorter distances and you pull the walker out when you're walking those longer distances. Those would all be things that I would be mindful of prior to going down the road of having to build your overall walking endurance. Now, once you've kind of addressed all those issues and you really just want to start walking, building your overall activity tolerance, then I would say start with a program where you're adding 1 minute of walking on each day. I would say for anyone who is walking less, can't walk more than 10 to 15 minutes, I would add 1 minute on a week or every 2 weeks, where you just walk a minute further out and a minute further back. Now, if you're talking hours, which I recently did have a patient that likes to walk hours and gets frustrated when he fatigues. If you're in that camp and you're already walking 20, 30, 40 minutes and you want to be able to walk 1 or 2 hours, I would definitely do that assessment of going through the different devices. Do you just need to use a different device? Do you need to use a walking stick or a gait pole or a hiking stick? I'm a huge fan of those because you can't slump over as much, and sometimes that will help you to conserve energy. But if you're in that camp, you might not want to increase by 1 minute increments, but you could maybe increase by 5 minute increments. The other things when you're getting into those distances is look at your environment. Are you walking on a lot of uneven terrain? Do you need to mix it up sometimes if you want to walk further and stay on smoother surfaces? Or maybe do half and half, try and stay on sidewalks and stuff for half of your walk, and then, switch over into more like kind of off-road walking environments, but somehow find something that you can modify and that you have control of, so you can modify it in increments. I like time as a modifier because you can be in control of that. You can walk 10 minutes out, 10 minutes back, 15 minutes out, 15 minutes back, and just build up slow. Again, if you have MS, don't forget heat, super, super, super duper important. Making sure you're hydrated and making sure that you're giving yourself rest breaks and that you're not going to fatigue or failure often.